Melanie Phillips, journalist, broadcaster, author, columnist for the Times of London, and writer for, among other things, the Jewish Chronicle and the Jewish News Syndicate. Melanie Phillips, thank you so much for your time. This decision, your response?
It's an appalling judgment. It's an appalling ruling, I should say. The prosecutor has made a really obscene moral equivalence between the genocidal attackers who launched their appalling pogrom against the Israelis on October 7, and Israel's defense of itself against those people in Hamas and against the possibility of future attacks, which Hamas threaten to wage against Israel over and over again until they destroy it. That's the first thing. The second thing is that what the prosecutor has done in requesting these arrest warrants is to do so by using a set of lies of the kind that we've seen inflame mobs around the world. Every single one of those accusations is a lie. Israel is not starving the Gazans. It's bringing in vast amounts of aid. The people who are deliberately causing the Gazan civilians pain and distress, and indeed killing them deliberately, are actually the Hamas, who are stealing the aid for themselves, making a fortune from it. The idea that Israel is deliberately, intentionally, wantonly killing people, which is what the prosecutor has said, is not just a lie, it is actually a blood libel and the opposite of the truth, because the facts that we now know, insofar as we know how many Gazans have been killed, the United Nations has itself halved the totals that it was putting out, because the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza has admitted that many of its numbers of dead that it's been telling us, this vast number of civilians that have been killed, they took from the media. They're simply fabricated and made up. And when one looks at the likely tally of civilians and combatants killed, it would appear that for every one combatant that's killed, one civilian is killed by Israel. 1 to 1, that is a ratio of civilians killed to combatants, which is infinitely better than has ever been achieved by any country in the world in time of war. Far from deliberately setting out to kill civilians, Israel has done more than any other country to try to protect their lives. So every part of this is a lie. Every part of this is basically a blood libel. And the prosecutor has not just buried his own reputation, he has buried the court's reputation. It was already pretty shaky. The International Criminal Court, his predecessors were terrible. They more or less wrecked the court. He has now basically sealed its reputation in infamy, and he has used and abused human rights law to do it.
Yes, and they also seem to treat as true the allegation that Israel deliberately killed aid workers, rather than that being a horrible mistake that Israel confessed to and sacked people for. They're treating that too, apparently, as true. I agree. Wild allegations are being treated as fact by a prosecutor seems extremely gullible. Now, his response, or the court's response to this allegation that, oh, here you are, you're equating Israel with Hamas. No, they say we're showing that we're neutral here, that it's the law above all, that no one is above the law. That's all we're doing. Do you buy that?
Absolutely not. First of all, it's certainly not neutral. It's not neutral if you say that people who are bent on genocide have the same status, should be afforded the same status in terms of what they've done as the people who are defending themselves against genocide. The implication of the prosecutor's move is to say that a just war can never be fought. A just war that is proportionate to the threat, to the risk, a just war that is proportionate in terms of numbers killed, a just war whose cause is just because you are defending yourself and your people against attack, that can never happen, because in war people die. Unfortunately, it's a great tragedy, and we should all be sympathetic, obviously, to civilians who die. The second thing to say is that what he's done by requesting these arrest warrants is to ride a coach and horses through a fundamental precept of the court itself. That is what's called the principle of complementarity. And what that means is that the court has no jurisdiction to intervene in a state's affairs unless that state is refusing to investigate the charges made against it itself. Now, in order for it to do so, the court has to give it the chance to do so. It has to ask it to do so, invite it to do so. Now, first of all, Israel has not been invited by the court to do so. And secondly, it is in the middle of the war in Gaza. It cannot do so at the moment. So basically, while the war is going on, the prosecutor has basically circumvented that ruling and has waded in without even giving Israel a chance to look at it themselves.
Look, the whole thing, every which way you look at it, seems so strange. If it's just no one's above the law, why has the International Criminal Court said nothing about Syria, one of Israel's enemies, of course, that has had a civil war, 500,000 people killed, the president having even barrel bombs dropped on his own people, nothing there. Israel always is in the gun. Melanie Phillips, thank you so much indeed for your time.
Thank you.